Welcome, everyone. Thank you again for taking the time to join us. My name is Steve Russell, and I'm a solutions consultant and account manager with Results Direct. And joining me today is our CEO, Russ Magnuson. There's Russ. Thank you, Russ. We all know that for years, the association website has been the digital front door for our members, but the shape and features of that door have evolved. And today, we're moving past the era of static pages and one size fits all experiences. And we're entering a new chapter where new tools like AI are making our sites smarter, faster, and more intuitive than ever before. So, in this discussion, we're going to look at how these tools aren't just nice to haves, but essential shifts that are personalizing the member journey, automating the heavy lifting for staff, and making the most of your website as a 24/7 member benefit that truly understands what your community needs. So, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Russ to tell us more about Results Direct and our agenda for today. Russ?
Thanks, Steve. Yeah, it's great to be here today. We appreciate everybody's interest in this topic. It's an extremely important topic, and of course, things are evolving quickly in the AI space, and that's affecting everyone, and certainly the customers we work with. Just a little bit about Results Direct. We've been around quite a while, since 1995. We've seen a lot of things along the way. We've seen some things come and go that have proven themselves as a benefit to our customers and others not so much. Anyone using the metaverse these days? If you are, I have a pair of goggles that I'd be happy to unload. But some things have stuck around and have proven themselves as part of good solutions. We work across all manner of systems, CMS systems, AMS, CRM systems, you name it. We have specialized expertise in the web area for WordPress and Sitefinity. We are probably unmatched in terms of integration with other systems, with other platforms. And we're unique in our space and in our peer group, if you will, that we invested in mobile apps, in doing native mobile apps, and we have products to support organizations with their events, as well as member apps where you bring those benefits to your member in their pockets. And now, excitingly, the third leg, if you will, of our solutions platform has truly arrived, and that's artificial intelligence, which of course everybody's um, thinking about, talking about these days. We work with a variety of AI technologies, including a very specialized platform called Ready Intelligence, which is designed for membership organizations, and we'll talk a little bit about that along the way.
All righty. So, you want to go over our agenda a little bit, Russ?
Yeah, so today, no big surprises here. We're going to talk about the current state of websites, where they're headed in the future. We're going to talk about and show some examples of next level personalization. Uh, we're gonna talk, and some people call this search, and we use that a little interchangeably, but it's really intelligent knowledge retrieval, which is a whole level above search. We're going to discuss ways to empower members to find answers and to get what they're looking for faster, which makes for happier members. Simplifying content tasks like, say, generating taxonomies, that kind of stuff. And even how some of these tools can be applied to assist with governance. And of course, we'll be sharing along the way what next steps that organizations can take are.
All righty.
All right. So this one's kind of fun. So Results Direct is not like probably most of your organizations where we redesign our website. It seems like every 3 to 5 years or so. And so we kind of wanted to talk about that. One of the things that I've been writing and talking about is that websites have not changed much in the last 25 to 30 years, when you really think about it. So over on the right is our current Results Direct website, which we're in the process of redesigning. But over on the left was our website in 2002. And when we were preparing this presentation, I was like, well, that site looks pretty good. Why don't we just go back to using that? Because, it's looks pretty good. And when you look at it, you see that they're really quite similar. I mean, obviously, there's a little bit of different look to it, but the fundamentals of the designs have not changed. And I will say this has been true over the last 25, 30 years. Certainly, things are improved. There's more integrations, there's more content. We become more sophisticated about navigation, but fundamentally, websites are still the same as they were 25 plus years ago. And as we go through this morning, that's changing. We're finally at a place where things are really going to begin to shift. And that's with AI, which we'll just say is the next disruptor, which we probably all can agree on. Um, here, what I wanted to highlight is that up until now, probably the last big innovation in website design was the ability to render things more effectively across multiple devices. For a long time there was just the desktop web browser. Then we started to see mobile devices, iPads, tablets, that sort of thing. And all of a sudden, the design requirements changed, and we had to innovate. And that innovation was really responsive web design. That's I would assert has been the last big change to website design philosophy. But what it really amounted to is really just better ways to render the same things. So fast forward to now, um, we have a very simple rendering that with a box in it where people can start typing questions or looking for what they want. And a few years ago at an internal staff lunch, I was talking about why websites, we go through this process every 3 to 5 years. We do this big redesign, navigation, taxonomy, classification, all, yada, yada, yada. Everybody's familiar with that. I was like, why can't I just have a website where I walk up, and ask it for what I want? And that day to some degree has arrived. Now, I don't necessarily think we're going to want to make it that simple, but that's kind of this is an illustration of just how dramatic that shift is. And just quickly, one idea I want to plant early on here when we're talking about AI is not to think about it as like this thing that I sprinkle onto things, but to instead think about it as this is a new kind of um, infrastructure underneath the things that we've always been doing, but allows you to really it's a significant enabler of an enhanced experience. And so I think it's really important. We'll say this a couple of different ways over the morning, but not to think of AI as like, oh, we got to go get some AI and attach it to our website or to what we're doing, but rather to say, how can we use this technology to take what we have been doing and finally do some really amazing things with it?
Yeah, and that's exactly where I want to like start off with talking about elevating the member experience for us and take exactly that idea of not just sprinkling AI onto things, but identifying those things where we can really improve how we're already, serving our clients, serving members, getting them the information that they need. So let's start with next level personalization. Let's talk about what that is. And with the introduction of AI tools, we're seeing a shift from a one to many to a one to one engagement by using AI to analyze individual member data, such as past event attendance, course history, content preferences, the things you're doing to interact with the association and with the website. And the next generation of your association website is going to recommend articles, learning modules, networking opportunities, specifically tailored to a member's current stage of their career, their interests, how they're interacting with the association. The old way was really putting things into buckets. Your current personalization, like you see now on the site when you log in, might say, "Hi, Russ. Hi, Steve," and it knows what kind of member you are, but it doesn't know who you are, or it's not reacting as much to how you're interacting with the website. So when we talk about the member experience, let's talk about that. What is that? What does that mean? It's really about relevance, right? So we want to make sure that we have a tool. We want to use this tool to show that you can make your membership value proposition way more relevant. With this, seeing how the website changes depending on login, depending on member type, we can see how the website interface can change based on a user's role. And that could be whether they're, a prospective member, a new member, a seasoned executive, to show the most valuable resources first. Because that's what your members want when they come to the association website, is they don't want to feel like they are, walking into a library and not knowing how to navigate all the different aisles. They want to, like Russ said, find a box, have a conversation, and start finding the resources that they need. So surfacing content across the different systems is, again, this is what I think one of the most powerful ways that we can demonstrate the effectiveness of AI on your website today. And really, this is a lot of what you're seeing when you see AI out in the wild today, right? So really looking at the difference between semantic and keyword search and how AI-driven search is understanding your members' queries rather than just matching words or like guessing. Really, it's making it easier to find complex technical documents, policy info, because it understands context, which is really kind of like the easiest way to explain the difference between traditional search and what you're doing with an AI advisor. With things like cited search, this is one of the most powerful, really obvious things you'll see right off the bat. Members can utilize natural language questions to get direct answers instead of just a list of blue links. So your newer, your prospective members have greater accessibility to learn more about your industry, learn more about your association, which allows for a smoother onboarding process or member retention. Because if people know how to find, and really they don't even have to know how to find it, if they're just interacting with the website and finding the content they need easier, they're going to have a much better experience overall. Another really, really cool feature that I love is this multi-language search, right? So the idea that you can ask a question in Spanish and get an answer in Spanish, all based on one language source. So if your entire website is all in English, that's okay. You don't have to have different language content types in order for the AI to respond to your members, respond to users on the website in the language that they're asking the questions, right? So it'll provide real-time translation and accessibility adjustments, making sure that members, wherever they are, can access the information that they're looking for in their preferred language.
And Steve, one thing with the multi-language support there, this is something you get for free
Yeah,
with when you start to incorporate AI. It's no longer that we have to go find a language translation module and
right.
figure out how to apply it, or come up with different ways of translating documents on the fly. In fact, when you're using these AI search tools, if you will, they already come with this capability built in, and it really, for any language. I mean, I'm learning French, so I sometimes translate things and I ask a question in French or ask for the results in French to see how much I understand. So it's just like a really, when you think about over the past 30 years, whenever somebody said, "Oh, we need to have a multi-language site," it was an immediate huge headache and massive expense, and that's just no longer the case.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a huge game changer as far as just that added accessibility to the site without the staff overhead of, oh man, we have to make sure that we need to translate this article into Spanish, German, French, and get it on the website in three different ways, tag it three different ways. No, we're doing away with all that. So the next thing I want to mention with surfacing content is video, because when we talk about context, this is extremely powerful. So when we talk about surfacing content, we mean all of your content. This new version of the website that's using AI tools is going to be using AI to index and surface valuable information buried deep in PDFs, old webinar recordings, forum threads, policy guideline documents from 20, 30 years ago. If you have the tool ingest the knowledge, whatever information you put in there, you're going to be able to query it on that info and on that context. So with something like video, this is extremely powerful. A lot of webinars could be 45 minutes, an hour long. And so if you're looking for information on that, you're looking to summarize that info, you don't have time to read a whole 40 or, watch a 45-minute webinar, or, try to listen to me and Russ on 2x speed squeaking through what AI does. You're going to be able to ask it, where in the video did they talk about analytics? Where in the video did they talk about taxonomy? And the tool is going to be able to tell you exactly where those conversations happened. It's going to give you, as you can see there, the little thumbnails as to, okay, here's where that happened. You can click it to watch that portion of the video, but it also summarized that for you so that you can kind of get the Cliff Notes version of that actual video. And then aside from that, to the other image that you'll see down there is a way that we can actually get the advisor to chart information for us. So it doesn't just have to respond via text. If I'm, looking into my member data, right, and I want to analyze, how are my members using the website a little bit differently, or what are people doing after they're logging in? Chart chart for me what the top pages people are going to maybe after they log in, so we can see and track member behavior. So showing those things in a visualized way can really help with that overhead of your internal team kind of strategizing on where and how to find content, or where and how to present content. And we'll talk about that a bit towards the end when we talk about
And it,
content governance. Go ahead, Ross.
yeah, it really unlocks the hidden knowledge that you
Yeah,
may have around there that may still be extremely valuable. So, for instance, we were talking to someone who has, well, hundreds of pages as PDFs, but not PDFs in the modern sense where I can parse out the copy in there. PDFs in they are essentially images of the
right.
text, and they
Yeah.
are not searchable in any way. You can't copy and paste from them. So it's really lost knowledge. Now, of course, traditionally or typically we'd say, well, let's classify those and at least make it so the right documents will come up in a search by classification. But now, as Steve was just saying, with this technology, we can actually extract the text, the information out of that. And as here in the diagram, that applies to graphs, diagrams, flowcharts, any kind of knowledge that you have that otherwise would not normally be available now suddenly becomes available. And it is very specifically searchable, by you or your members or your stakeholders.
Right. And not just searchable too. It's the idea that it's understanding that context. So you can ask it questions about the content of those images. So infographics is another good one, right? A lot of associations might have these great infographics that their designers put together with pie charts and visuals and different graphs of information. The tool is going to be able to read that and converse with you about that, not just here's the infographic, go figure it out. So we're having that conversation to really extract that context. And I'm so glad you mentioned the older types of documents and files, like old scanned PDFs and things like that um, from years and years ago, where it's not just tagging it as, oh, that's a document from 1987, it's a PDF, it's 5 pages long. No, it's actually understanding the content of that document, which is huge for knowledge retention, especially when you think about as the organization itself, as different staff turnover over time. This is just a way to keep that knowledge moving forward and not like let things run through the cracks, or the information being playing a long game of telephone, so to speak. All right, so with that, Russ, I'm going to turn it over to you for a quick interactive demo to talk to a little bit about how some of these future association websites are going to look like.
Great. Let me just pull up something here. All right. Looks like that has come on to the screen. Very good. Um, I'm sure many people here have heard about that famous, well, not famous, but uh, well-known article that's floating around called "Something Big is Happening." Now that term has been suddenly applied to many different things, where it's become a cliche. But something big is happening. And in our part of the world, of course, we're focused on how we can use this to serve associations. So what I've done here is I've created just a quick example demonstration of how we are working to apply this technology. This is actually this is kind of a sneak preview, part of a guide that we're working on. But I thought it'd be useful to show this morning. So I have two different kinds of things that we're going to talk about. One is knowledge retrieval search, and then the other is more around personalization and dynamic websites. And Steve said a word that I think sometimes goes flying by, but it's really important, and that word is intent. And intent is really the ability to understand what somebody's trying to do versus how they have asked for it. And one of the challenges in traditional search is that if I didn't ask it just the right way, I wouldn't get the results that I wanted, or I get erroneous results. So I might be interested in puppies, but I'll search for dogs and I don't get anything on puppies, or, that kind of thing. So, traditional search has been limited by its ability to understand what people have been wanting to do. We've worked for many years to compensate that through taxonomies and again classification and different ways of trying to surface the right information in front of people. Um, but now we have the ability to really do some interesting things. So I'm going to start with search here and just pull this up. So again, I mentioned that intent and that's important. So, here might be a future experience. How do I renew my certification? Here I'm searching for the knowledge base. So it not only, this is pretty significant. It didn't just say, oh, here's an article on where to go to fill out the form to renew your certification. It actually said, you know, it requires these many CEO credits. It knows who I am, so it said I have 8 available. It's providing a list to the guide, as well as some other things that will help me get recertified. So just a much better experience. It spans multiple kinds of content because it understands what I'm really trying to do, not just like, oh, how do I renew certification? Well, here's a form, go fill it out. It's, as everybody knows, it's much more involved in that. Here's another way that we can use this kind of technology. I'm sure everybody's seen these little chatbots, if you will, showing up on websites. The nice thing about these is they're much more conversational. They can be deployed on any page on your website. They can be tailored to be specific, to say the kinds of knowledge in different areas of your site. So, you no longer have to think in the generalized chatbot that really isn't helpful at all, but rather uh, these assistants and chatbot, I think, kind of under describes them, but these assistants or advisors that really allow you to zero in on what you're trying to do. So if I go ask the same question here, I can see, oh, okay. So it tells me, that same thing I saw before, I have 20 credits. Now it's offering to build a plan, so I can say, uh, Estes path. Um, and now it says, okay, go to the spring conference. That gets you to 17, then pick up. So it's actually, being helpful. Um, and this is just a whole different experience. So it's asking me, do you want me to start my registration? I can say, well, are there any special offers on registration? Yeah, it's going to be try and be helpful. Great question. Let me go look for you. So, again, we can encode a journey and knowledge to help that person, whether it's bringing them to a registration form or presenting other offers. And then finally, in the search realm, we can actually take these two things and bring them together. So we can blend them together. So we have the same question here. Now it's providing a little bit more information. It's provided how to get there, as well as how to get up to those 20 credits. And then I say it's offered another follow-up question. Down here is actually a version of that agent that we just saw. And so I can go into here and it'll say, oh, the spring early bird rate is this, yada, yada, yada. And then it says, do you want me to start your registration? And here it says, oh, wait a second, based on your 6 years of committee work, you're going to be eligible for this special offer, this emerging leaders track. Applications open April 1st. I can set a reminder for you. So just imagine this kind of experience versus what most people have to go through to get places. I'm just going to flip back over to here onto the adaptive website, personalization. Over here, this is, typically what what a site looks like today. Perfectly fine. And of course, designs vary all over the map, but from a functional standpoint, I go to the website, I see these main categories of things that I might be interested in. Now, how might I enhance that with AI? Okay, so now it knows who I am or my persona, Dr. Martinez. It in fact, and I'm going to just go over here so I can look back and forth. It's customized these things, it's personalized them for me. So instead of the generic upcoming events, resource libraries, education, get involved, in fact, now I'm looking at my next event. I'm looking at content that's picked for me, my status towards my CEU, and the committee that I'm actually on. So just a whole huge step up in terms of personalization and friendliness. And then finally, a variation of that, which is more under dynamic content, and this tries to keep the experience relative. So today, even if I'm logged in, I might typically see something like this. The system knows that I'm interested in these areas. It's even giving me a little bit of information that's relevant to me down here at the bottom of stuff that I've done. However, we can enhance it to say, these are more relevant connections to each one of those content areas in these tiles. And then we have the option to even dynamically reconfigure this page. And of course, this can be done automatically. I've just shown it here so you can see an example of what's happening. And I'm going to press to reorder. And you can see that, excuse me, the system has said these are the things going to be most of interest to me. So a lot of power there, and just a very exciting time in what we can do. And glad to give you a sneak peek. And we're going to be doing a lot more on this. As I said, I'm working on kind of a strategy guide with it. And these are all things that are not only technically possible, but are being worked on today. So uh, I find it pretty exciting. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing this, Steve.
Perfect. Thank you, Russ. Yeah, and so we want to talk a little. I'm going to continue that kind of thread that Russ is talking about with the usefulness of those and kind of how we're seeing those changes, with how we want to empower members to find answers 24/7. Turn your website into a 24/7 member benefit with these tools. The old way was very gatekeepery. The websites of today and yesterday were really based on what kind of access did you have? Are you a member? Can you log in? And then once you log in, what level of access do you have to that content? If you're, level A member, a level B member, a student member, or professional member, what have you, right? And so we're moving away a little bit from that gatekeepery type of experience into a more 24/7 access oriented environment, right? So you're still able to restrict content to certain audiences. That's not going away. But what is changing is the accessibility of how the members are interact or how your users are interacting with the site and how they're experiencing those gates, so to speak, right? So the site is coming off more accessible and more useful, and not so many dead ends or feeling like, again, a newer user or someone who's a newer member feels like they need to learn how to use the website to do their job or to be a good, to be a productive member of the association, right? They shouldn't have to do homework on your website to find information. So the idea that, members being able to access information 24/7, we want to do away with that elevator music on hold and rigid chatbots that Russ mentioned, to these modern assistants that can handle complex multi-turn conversations and provide instant and accurate support any time of the day, right? I think I saw someone in the chat even mention like, hey, how useful really are these chatbots? And I agree with Russ. I think chatbot is kind of like the old term of what that product used to be. And we're seeing this shift towards these extremely complex AI knowledge advisors that are able to have conversational responses and dialogue with you instead of just what you feel like are canned responses, right? We went from talking to a robot on the phone and hitting a button in a menu to go to the next thing and you feel like, okay, I just got to listen to the robot. And to the chat experience was a little bit similar, just text, right? And a lot of times those chat features that we've seen in the last few years, after that initial question, you just get kicked over to a person who's typing back to you, and you're essentially just back on AOL Instant Messenger from 25 years ago. So we're seeing that these tools have just become so much more complex and able to really have that conversation with us.
And I think it's really important to recognize, when we're talking about that member service, it's easy to kind of fall into the trap of, well, we have the website, but if they can't find what they're looking for, they can call us.
Right.
Uh, and and because we're here, and you even see organizations promote, hey, whatever you need, we're here, just call us, that kind of thing. But the reality is most people don't want to call you. They want to get what they want to get when they want to get it. And that having to hunt for it, struggle for it, find people that might know where it is, say, oh, I'll send you a link to this page on the website. While that is a band-aid to the underlying problem, it doesn't truly address it, because what the members want is to find what they're looking for when they want it immediately, and what you want is to be able to provide that level of service.
Absolutely. And I'm a big sports fan, and we hear a lot in sports the best ability is availability. And this is making everything on your site available 24/7 at all times. And like you said, giving those answers of what you're actually looking for with the context, with the complexity of understanding you and what your needs are, not just, oh, we think you fit into this bucket. So this sounds like the right answer. All right, so we've talked a lot about how AI is making the experience for your members so much better, and especially on the website. Let's talk a little bit about how it can make your staff team's job easier and the kind of behind the scenes aspect for how you can use it with your team to improve the experience of the website, which again is only going to increase that member value. So what are we looking at here as far as what some of these options are? These are just some of the examples of how AI tools can really, really make your staff team's job easier and how you're organizing content on the website and serving that up to members, right? So for content and audit migration, understanding all the different types of content you offer and how your members are using it used to be kind of like a required manual tracking sort of situation, right? You were combining different systems, making lists. Now we can flag redundant content, organize our resources better, and use automated means to make managing the information that our members value so much more easier for the staff. For taxonomy, AI can handle tedious tasks like tagging content, generating metadata, creating alt text for images, which is not only going to make organizing your content easier, it's also improving your SEO. So it's improving your findability, it's improving the accessibility with zero manual effort added. And as far as website governance and content strategy goes, you can use AI to quickly draft newsletter summaries, long form reports, repurpose webinar transcripts. You can, find new ways to use your content and more, more accessible ways. Kind of again, repurposing is great for things like webinars, making those into written content, but also just understanding how your members are using your website. So we can use these tools to better understand what member journeys look like? What are they doing when they log in? What are they doing when they add something to the cart? How can we better understand and kind of position content on the website so that it's getting in front of people as easy as possible? And how we kind of communicate that information to members if they are a member or if they're not a member. You can use this information to kind of better strategize how you're putting information in front of members, like resources that you may use as a little bit of a tease to folks who aren't members yet, but hey, once you join the association, you get access to this kind of stuff. You can work with these AI tools and knowledge advisors to kind of prompt how those conversations continue and flow through. So with that, Russ, why don't you tell us what this quote means in the context of AI?
Well, I'm not exactly the Steve Jobs whisperer or anything, but obviously he was had a huge influence on technology and just some really interesting approaches to things. What I like about this, and here's the danger with AI. There's this saying, when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail, and I think that's what we have to be careful of. When we're adopting this new capability, is that It's not the answer to everything. There are probably other ways of solving many different kinds of things we want to do. But what we do want to do is use it judiciously as a new capability that otherwise didn't exist. And the important part of that is to start with what you want to do. And a lot of times I think we've been constrained in how we express that because we jump to immediately, well, that's not going to be possible, or it's going to cost too much, or whatever the blocker is. But I think we are now at a place where we can say, the perfect experience I'd like to create for the member is this. And then we can work backwards to see how we can create that. And that I think is, as Steve Jobs said here, the solution starts with defining actually what it is you're trying to do rather than what is the latest tool that I can kind of bolt to the side of it.
Absolutely. And I think that's a great really dismount on that, Russ, is that it's an incredible tool, but let's focus on what can we do with it? What solutions do you need and that we can apply with it, right? I think the hammer and the nail analogy is the perfect analogy for all of this. So I just want to reiterate, as before we get into questions, results direct can help you with everything that we talked about today. So let's start. Let's have a conversation. If you want to learn more, please contact us. We have the QR code in the slide here. We've got contact info from the registration emails. Schedule a call with us. We want to talk to you. I love hearing from associations and association experts about kind of what their ideas are with AI. Can it do this? Can it do that? We have this member community and they want to do this. We love having those conversations and discovering kind of what all is out there.
And we can help you. So we can help you with strategy. We can help you taking a look at your content, how things need to tie in with other systems. We can help you across the spectrum with this. And it's an extraordinarily exciting time. So as Steve says, we love to just talk to people to kind of reimagine, if you will, some of these challenges that have existed essentially for 30 years,
Yeah.
how we can look at them through a new prism, if you will.
All righty. Well, thank you so much, Russ. Thank you again to everyone who joined us today. I think we're going to take some time for questions. So I will bring Lauren from Results Direct on to help us with Q&A. Hi, Lauren.
Okay, great. Hi, everybody. Thank you, Russ and Steve. It was great to learn more about how AI is transforming association websites today. Let's get started. We've got a bunch of questions. We'll take a few here. And just a quick reminder for anybody who is still looking to submit questions, you can do so using our Zoom Q&A. And we'll grab them from there. All right, so first up, can AI be used to personalize web experiences without requiring a member login?
That's a really good question. The answer is yes. At the same time, if I'm architecting a new website, I might look at some simpler ways to do that. And then when somebody is logged in, to give them the more robust experience that I can create with AI. Again, while AI can do something, it doesn't mean that it's always the best tool to do something. And so that's how I would approach that.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to look at that, for sure.
Okay, thank you. Let's see here. Okay, so next up, how can AI surface content across my website, plus content and data that lives in other systems? Can you guys
Awesome
talk a little
question.
bit more about that?
Yeah, so I love this. And coming from a communications background at an association, this is like where I lived before I was here at Results Direct, was kind of doing that content strategy. And the idea that you can work with these AI tools to kind of look at your whole stack of communication and resources and content, whether that's webinars that you do, in-person events that you put on, newsletters, text resources on your website, policy guidelines, scientific research papers, all that kind of stuff. We can cast a really wide net with these tools and ask it questions about how to summarize information, how to organize information, again, and really how to categorize it from the tagging and the taxonomy, so that you're able to put it on the website in places that your members don't have to hunt and find it. We do, again, coming from a communications background, my whole thing on website content is If it's not on your website, it doesn't exist for your association because that's how your members are accessing that info. But more importantly than that is you have to make it easy for them to find because if they have to hunt and peck and look, that's not a good experience for them and it's slowing down what they're able to do. So by using AI to surface all of your content and organize all of the different resources you have, you're able to make it so much faster for people to find the stuff that they're looking for. So they don't need to know your association's kind of nomenclature on what you call things. They can use plain language to find the stuff that they're looking for.
And I'll just add from the technical side of things, and that's great insights there, Steve. From the technical side of things, a lot of information in the world is unstructured, and
Hmm.
today's design capabilities have always assumed structured information or figuring out a way to structure unstructured information or to deal with all the ambiguities around that. And what's nice about the language models and AI is that now I can start to process unstructured information and structure it, if you will, for the purposes I'm looking for using AI and using these models. And there's actually a protocol, MCP, which stands for Model Context Protocol, just a technical thing. But that is really the gateway into some of these remote systems, if you will. If they have an API, and we're already writing MCP connectors, but if they have an API, now we can connect into that and we can begin to do things with the content in that system without having to go through the big um, normalizing the content and structuring it. It gives us some tools to work with that, and it's very powerful.
Okay, thank you for that. So we've had a bunch of questions related to this next one, so I'm just going to kind of summarize it for the group. What do you guys recommend for AI search? I know we've had a bunch of questions related to this topic, so that's just a general summary, but what do you recommend for AI search?
Well, we work with a platform called Ready Intelligence, which is a next generation AI tool that brings a number of different capabilities to membership organizations. There's certainly different AI tools around and have been around really for almost the last couple of years when all of this really started to kick off. Um, but some of the first generation ones are a little bit more limited and less flexible in terms of keeping things current and keeping your content available and updates and that sort of thing. So we certainly recommend Ready Intelligence, but we do work with other providers and are happy to talk to you about our experience with different things.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'm just keeping an eye on the time. How about one more question? Can you guys talk a little bit about how you can control access to sensitive data and content that maybe you don't want available to the public?
Yeah, so
Sure.
that's going to continue as you have now, right? Where we have content restrictions on behind logins and keeping content, so that the public isn't able to access it. People are able to, but the members still can, right? So, Russ, yeah, do you want to talk a little bit about how we are still allowing access so that we can take advantage of these tools, but keep members, content secure and feel like they have that peace of mind?
Sure. At the risk of oversimplifying it, there are different layers or different ways of protecting that content. So, first and foremost is, the language models are not trained on your content in any way, shape, and form unless you specifically ask them to do that. So it's not like if you're using AI that everything automatically goes out into the cloud and it's available to everybody on the planet or anything like that. But for people that have what we would call extraordinarily sensitive content, an approach we recommend is running a local language model within your data center. And that way you can still, leverage the power of these tools without in any way letting your content go off to say Anthropic or OpenAI or one of these other providers. So it really depends on your level of comfort. But I would say in the except in the most extreme cases, if you're, if you were working with national security or, something like that, um, the protections that are built into the current models and how we, design or architect the access to your content protects it from, becoming available unintentionally.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful. And that's also time for today. So if we did not get to your question, please know that it's important to us and someone from our team will follow up with you directly to answer it. And thank you. We appreciate your time and look forward to continuing this conversation from all of us at Results Direct. Have a great day.
Yeah, thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
It's been great having you all with us this morning, and we are happy to talk in detail and future websites and how we can leverage this and really help you help your members. So thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. Take care.